Here's what I did. Here's what I did. Here's something funny. He thinks it's awesome.
Hey everybody, it's me, Undead Viking. I'm here to tell you a little bit about the game Dreams of Dystopia from Andreas Probst. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Andreas actually designed a game that actually made it into my deck building games I didn't throw away pile, Elemental Clash, and he did it again. Actually, he made it a deck building game that I don't dislike, which is a tough thing to do for me. I've actually found like a handful of deck building games this year that I haven't been really annoyed with, so I'm actually kind of impressed by that. But Dreams of Dystopia follows a very tried and true method of deck building, but it has a little bit of a twist to it due to the fact that this is some sort of weird demonic divine world that you're fighting in. You will have either an angel or a demon master that you will be controlling, and that demon master will be summoning troops to their side, and not necessarily all angels or demons, depending on which type of master that you have. You can actually, at an increased cost, if you're an angel, you can have demons fight for you, and so on, and reverse as well. And the interesting thing about this game is that each card, instead of like having here's 10 angels, here's 10 demons, here's another 10 angels, here's 10 demons, each type of card, be it a weapon, like here, I'll grab these guys, like these heavenly arm cannons. On the flip side of the card is hellish arm cannons, and they actually, and it isn't just a flat straight switch. It's not just a name change. It's actually an ability change and stat change as well. And the same thing goes for the minions, if you will. So here's a saintly merchant and a sinister merchant on the other side, or maybe a famed being, but a cursed being, or whatever. So, and like I said, the abilities of the particular creatures, not only just like their stats, but also the what they have or what they can do as an action or an ability in this case, is different for either side of the card. So, which is a really cool method. Now, you might be wondering how you actually can keep it, because you don't have a back to the card, and most, obviously when you're playing a deck builder, you can't see what cards are coming out next, because that's kind of cheating. You do sleeve this game on the fly, and I'll talk about that during my gameplay portion of the game. So, without further ado, let me show you how to play Dreams of Dystopia, and then we'll come back here, as we always do, and I'll tell you more about the game and why I have been enjoying it. Alright, this is Dreams of Dystopia. I've gone ahead and set this game up with all of the cards that are included in the box, and you will be using all the cards when you play. I can only imagine when the expansions come out and what have you, there will be a lot more of these cards, and you'll swap some out. But as is, this is every single card that you get. These two rows here, these are the minions that you will be recruiting to fight for you in your battle against the other masters, and these are the weapons that you will be equipping. These minions will be equipping in their battles against the other masters. Over here we have a Heroic Deed and Curse cards. Curse cards are just dead cards that don't do any good in a deck building game. You don't like those because basically they just take up space in your deck and you can't do anything with them when you draw them. Heroic Deed cards are important because as you collect them, you get to spend them once per turn, usually. Sometimes you can break the rules, as you can probably guess. And when you spend them, you earn fame points. And fame points are very important because the more fame you have, the more the more and better minions that you can summon to fight for you. In the corner of each one of these cards, here, I'll just grab this guy right here. So here we have the Saintly Scholar, and he has a 4 up there. That means you need a fame of 4 to be able to have the Saintly Scholar fight for you. Now, over here, you'll see these Exalted Bone Clubs, and they have a 5 over there. That doesn't matter. That you can take any weapon you want when you purchase or acquire cards, but the 5 is the skill rating that the minion has to have to be able to wield that particular weapon. And I might as well just show you. So here we have the Staunch Gunner, he's a minion, and he's got a 3. But you can see his attack value is 2, his defense value is 3, and his skill is 2. So he couldn't wield the Exalted Bone Clubs, but he could wield the Zealot's Prayer over there. And so you can add, so if you were fighting with the Staunch Gunner, then you had that weapon, then they'd be able to equip that. It's that kind of combinations that you're looking for. I'm getting a little bit beyond myself, so let me just show you quickly. When the game begins, you will be given a choice of these masters. You can see there's the M up there. And the masters will have a special power that's listed there, and they'll also have life points listed there. That's in basically, if you run out of life points, you're out of the game and you lose. And so you can see, and as I mentioned, each card has both a divine side and a demonic side. And so we have Mithrix, the Flayer of Minds, and then we have Mithrix, the Feeder of Minds, which I don't know if that's really all that divine, but well, fine, whatever. And so you can see that Mithrix, the Feeder of Minds, has a 14 life, and you draw an additional card in your opening hand, and one additional card at the end of each of your turns, so that's like a little special power. Whereas the Flayer of Minds has only 13, as opposed to 14, and during each opponent's turn, if they would draw the first additional card this turn, they skip this draw. So that's actually a kind of powerful ability, which is one of the reasons why there are 13. And so you get 6 of these, and you can deal them out randomly, or you can argue amongst each other and figure out, or roll a die, since you have a bunch of these 20-sided dice that come with the game. And then you have a master. So, we'll just take this. So Athraxis the Generous, I like him because he's got 19 life. And you have an additional acquisition during each of your turns. I like that ability as well, because I like being able to basically buy an extra thing. So, but Athraxis the Greedy, and so during each opponent turn, if they would get an additional acquisition for the first time, they don't get it, which is also kind of neat too. But I usually play the good guys, because everybody always plays the bad guys, and everybody always wants to be demonic and horrible, but I kind of like playing the good guys, if you will. So you set up your life points, so you find the 19, of course, on here, which is going to take a second or two. And so, and you don't have to use dice. These are the ones that came with the game that I got. You could definitely just use tokens or a piece of paper or whatever. And then you set up your fame, like so. And then you get a starting deck. And if you played a deck builder, this is going to be very obvious to you. So you have 4 minions of the sun. Now, one second here, and I'll show you. And you get 4 curse cards, which you're going to try to get rid of as soon as possible, and you get 2 heroic deed cards. And so you're going to shuffle these up. Now here lies the trick. Because of the fact that these cards have a back to them as well, one of the things about this game is you're going to end up sleeving this game. And I know that's going to be kind of a stickler point for a few of you, but trust me, you have to, because or else the mechanism just doesn't work. Because the whole point of a deck builder is the fact that you can't see what's coming up. You can have a good idea because you've built your deck and you have an idea of what type of cards are in there, but you have to have an opaque sleeve to put your cards in. And so this is a game that actually, you'll actually be sleeving and re-sleeving cards, if you will. And so now, so just bear with me, and you're just going to have to pretend that I sleeve this, because you're going to sleeve all of your cards, and you're going to, if you're good, you're going to have the good side of it, but if you're bad, you put the bad side on there. So Minion of the Moon, or Minion of the Sun. So, so we go ahead and just like so. And the other players will do the exact same thing. They'll either pick either good or bad, and the starting ones will be that. Now, just because you take a divine minion, it doesn't mean that you have to take the divine minions or the divine, because you can recruit a minion that's not the same. Like you can get a demonic if you're a divine, or you can get divine if you're demonic, but it costs 2 extra fame to claim that. So if you wanted to claim, instead of a Twilight Walker, like so, you wanted to get a demonic walker, or I did, it would cost me 12 instead of 10. And then I would sleeve it like so the demonic side was placed in that particular location. These are good cards. I like those guys. But so that's one of the big changes in the game. So usually you will stay you will stay divine if you choose divine at the beginning, and you won't switch. There are some situations where it can happen that you'll switch, but I'm not going to go into that. I mean, it's just like any other card game. There's going to be ways that you can break the rules. But other than that, I mean, the game progresses as you can probably guess. You will draw the first 5 cards on your turn, and you'll look and see what you have. So I have a couple of curse cards. Aren't going to be any good because they're dead cards. But we have, the minions of the sun, and it says that it has an ability. So you can purge this card from hand to recruit a minion immediately, but you have to have enough fame to do it. So you normally get like one ability. Well, you get one ability, or you can make an attack, and you have so you can do other things. So but sometimes you can have cards that'll say +1 ability that you'll be able to do that, and so you can have another ability after the fact. If you play deck builders, you know like +1 action, and in this case it's like +1 ability. And so, but normally you take a card and you use the ability. And you're trying to chain effects to do certain things. You can do all of your actions, but as soon as you purchase something, you acquire. You're not like buying things with gold, so it's called acquisition. As soon as you acquire something from the tableau, then your turn is over, and then the next person goes. So you have a situation there where, like, you can attack somebody. Like, I could pick somebody, and I'll go into attacks in a second. I can say, I'm going to attack, and you declare, and you put your card down, and you declare your attack. Or you can use the ability. So, like, you can say, I'm going to discard this. So, a purging, obviously, it takes the card completely out of your hand and puts it to the side, and you're done. It's out of your hand. And that's one of those ways you can thin the decks, if you will. And then you can purchase something. So I can purchase a Fame level 1 minion. And so, like, maybe I'll go ahead and I'm going to get this Knight of the Sun, because he's better. The other one, the old minion was, 1/2/1. This guy's 2/2/2. And so then I'd place that in my discard pile over on the inside. And then, I'm going to probably have to just put these 2 curse cards in my discard pile as well. And I have these 2 guys left. And then now, if I wanted to, I could attack somebody. Now, when you attack somebody, you put a card down that you're attacking with, and you say, I'm attacking you. Now, if you're playing 2-player, obviously you're only going to attack that one person, but you can actually play with more than 2 people. And so you pick somebody to attack, and then they have the option of defending. Now, obviously, at the very beginning, it's probably not a really good idea to defend because of the fact that you only have an attack of 1. Everybody's got these cards, most likely in their hand, and they have a defense of 2. And so when you attack somebody, you compare the level of attack versus their level of defense if they choose to block the attack. And they do so by discarding, putting one of their cards down. And unlike a lot of games where, like, if they have enough defense to defend against you, then, like, nothing happens, you actually do get hurt. So, like, if their defense value is higher than your attack value, you take damage equal to the amount of overage that they have. It's like, and the only way you can actually ever protect against that is if you have a card that actually has a defender ability. Like, if they're considered to, because if they have a defender ability, they actually then won't, the overage or whatever, it doesn't carry over to you. They'll defend against the situation, and it won't affect you. But in this case, I can't really attack with this guy because it's not going to be any good. But the whole point is you have to attack people because you can't win unless you take somebody else out. So in this case, I'm probably not going to attack with these 2 guys. So then I put the other 2 in my discard pile, and now I can do an acquisition. I can purchase somebody else. So now maybe I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to pick, a Cultist of the Sun. So I have, because this one has the support ability. So it, like, if I get attacked and I use it, it can support, and mention when you do support and when you attacks, because, like, you can discard like weapons. Like, if I had a weapon when I did my attack, you can discard the weapon along with it. And that allows it to add to the damage or add to the attack value or defense value, if you will. And then and you would then add those together. But you can also put support cards out, and then the support says upon block, draw 1 and gain 1 life point. So it's got kind of a cool ability as the Cultist of the Sun. And also it's got a good ability: purge this and up to 3 other cards from your hand. This is one of the main cards you're going to use to get rid of those curse cards that you have. And so that would be my acquisition. And so that would be, my turn for that particular thing. Everybody else would go around, and then I would draw my last 5 cards. Now, I'm going to show you this last 5 cards just basically because of the fact that there's a heroic deed. And so if you have a heroic deed card in your hand, you can then discard it and get rid of it out of your hand, and you can then increase your fame by a point, and you would just go ahead like so, and go up. And the whole point is getting your fame up, and it can go down because of actions that other people do. Getting your fame up is important because obviously you need the higher level critters, basically to have in your deck. And so, and then if I discard that, now I could, I can go ahead and maybe I'd purge, my minion after increasing it, and I can get a level 2. So now I want, this heavenly healer, if you will. And I'm going to go ahead and add that to my deck. Now remember, every time I add a card to my deck, I'm going to have to sleeve the card. And the reason I took these all out of the sleeves for this video is basically because I wanted to be able to show you the flip sides of these things without having to, and also the process of actually sleeving the cards and what have you. Now, notice that when you're playing the game with these people, it's like usually when you acquire stuff, you put it off to the side, you finish up your turn, and then the next person goes, and then you put the stuff in your sleeves. You're not stopping mid-turn. So anybody who's worried about this game kind of slowing down because of the fact that you're going through that process of sleeving, I didn't notice this at all with any of the people that we played it. And as I said, when I played this on Tabletop Day, everybody had a ton of fun with this game. So the game just progresses like that. You just draw these cards, you add them to your deck, you add weapons to your hand. Make sure that you have the skill to wield the weapons that you pick. Make sure that you keep on increasing your fame until possibly finally you can get this big monster dude, the Champion of the Sun, who apparently is a big fan of the Punisher. Or the Champion of the Moon, which is also a big fan of the Punisher. I really dig the art in these guys. I'm kind of making a joke here about the Punisher, but that's all I can think of. I'm a big comic book nerd. But so he has an 8 attack, he has 12 defense. If you use the ability, remember if you just play a card from your hand as an ability instead of an attack, you get to draw 2, and then +2 abilities, so you can do 2 more, +1 combat. Normally you can only do 1 combat, and so you can get an extra combat when you have one. +1 acquisition, support gives a ton, combat upon attack, draw 1, +1. So obviously this is obviously a champion. You get a level 20, and the game does ramp up quickly. And the turns are pretty quick, especially with the attacks and the defenses and everything else. And it's one of those really good deck builders. I mean, I'm not the hugest fan of deck building games. I've been kind of burnt out on them. But I like games that have this fun little twist, this fun little change. And the really cool thing, and I'll touch on this again in my conclusion, but is the fact that it does take a little bit of time to remember what each of the abilities are or what have you. But there's lots of times when you're going to spend the extra 2 to get that demonic person or divine person, depending on which side your master is on, to your army, because of the fact that the combination of the demonic ability will fit really well with some of the other abilities you have. So and I really like these transmogrifiers because of the fact that they can reverse up to 3 cards in your hand, and so you can take those cards, you can change them, and on the fly you can actually go ahead and alter what you want to do on that particular turn. The only thing that I did with this game, and I think they're going to do something like this, I went ahead and I typed up the different abilities for each one, and I kept those handy, and I used those as kind of like a handy little handout, if you will, to the players, so they could actually then reference the different abilities without having to take the card out of their out of their sleeve or anything like that, or because if we bought them all, they wouldn't have those and stuff like that. And so we had that situation. So it's kind of neat that you have those abilities that you can kind of on the fly change your strategy. So, well, there you go. That's Dreams of Dystopia. Like I said, you really have to see the game sleeve to really get the full mechanism idea, but like I said, I didn't want to sleeve these cards because I want to be able to show the whole process, if you will. Alright, awesome. Let me tell you more about the game in my conclusion, which I'll do right now. Alright, awesome. Thank you for taking the time to watch that, and as I said, I took this game during tabletop day, and I played a bunch of it at my local game store, and we had a lot of fun with it. I mean, I should have known that I would lose a lot because the people at my local game store, as you can probably guess, there's quite a few Magic players there, but they saw this game, they took to it pretty quickly, and they obviously they took to the strategies, if you will. I've said this before in other videos. When I do any kind of like a deck building game, I'm not really good at like figuring out strategies as far as, oh, that card really chains well with that one, and that one, oh, that one chains well with this one. I'm more of a, what would happen if I shove this stuff together, you know? And I have fun with the game like that. I rarely, if ever, win. I don't think I've ever won more than a handful of games of Dominion in my lifetime. But you know, I enjoy the aspect of like trying to put together that cantankerous engine, if you will. And I know a lot of people do like, you know, putting together a nice, sleek, streamlined, powerful engine as well. And those are the ones that usually, you know, wipe the floor with me and destroy me in like half as many turns as it would take me just to get my cards up and running. But this game both satisfies both of those people as far as I know, because the people that were really good at the game remarked like how awesome it was, and they wanted to know how they could get their own copy, and I was just having fun, even though I kept losing over and over again. Now, I touched on the whole thing with the sleeves, and I know that I know there's gonna be people out there that are gonna say, you know, it's just you know, oh man, I can't imagine having to sleeve and unsleeve and sleeve and unsleeve. Well, the big thing is that you could, if you wanted to, just sleeve all the cards from the get-go. Like I said, I typed up the two different sides, and I put the stats, and you know, I could have done a lot better, made it prettier, but I just, you know, put the stats on there, and then I put you know, like the ability on there, and so you could actually see for each weapon and each minion, you know, what either side was, and then you could sleeve the whole thing and just have it out there. And then when you purchase something, you could have half of them, you know, be, you know, saintly, and half of them be demonic, and by and large, you're probably not going to run out of too many of the cards. I mean, the only cards that you're really going to be flipping over too much, well, during the game, like with the Transmogrifier, you might switch some. But I mean, the Masters will be switched just because people will want to play a certain side. And the basic minions that you get with the game. The rest of them, you're just not going to have to sleeve them that often, because when you're going to go to a you know, card stack, like you're going to say, oh, you know, I want some Saintly Scholars, you're going to have half of them already sleeved to the sinister side. So you just go and dig through the pile and find the one that you want. So that really isn't a problem. And so even though I know people are going to kind of grouse a little bit about that, I don't see it as an issue. It's a very, very minor problem, in my opinion. So that aside, I mean, the game is just flat out fun. I dig the art. I like the process. I like the iconography, and the abilities make sense. There isn't a lot of like, oh geez, what does this mean? How does that go? It's just like, this is plus ability, this is plus acquisition, this is plus combat, you know, and you know, the fact that I like also the fact that it dirties up your hand from the get-go with those curse cards, and I really like the ability of like putting more curse cards into people's discard pile. I've always enjoyed being able to mess with other people's you know, decks in a deck builder. I don't like deck builders where I can't, you know, I mean, yes, you can attack in this game, but I also like you messing up your turn, like kind of like laying a bomb basically in there by putting those curse cards in there. So for all those reasons, I like the theme, I like the art, and I like the mechanisms, I like the gameplay. And I think if you like deck builders, and I think if you like this kind of a weird iconic, you know, divine, demonic theme, I think you're going to dig this game a lot too. So there you go. That was Dreams of Dystopia. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I greatly appreciate it. And until next time, you have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right. Bye-bye.